Thank you so much. At the outset, I would like to thank Trichy Euro Education Foundation for this opportunity. It's program. I can see that it's already a full house, and so I'll be talking about various scopes and accessories in RIRS. As there are so many scopes and accessories available now, I'll be taking you guys through which are the more commonly used scopes and which are the newer scopes which I feel that they hold some promise in future. So we know that RIRS is an endoscopic surgery for management of pathology within the renal collecting system using a retrograde closed approach. And basically it is also called flexible ureteroscopy and generally preferred for stones in upper ureter or kidney with for size less than 2.5 centimeter, and the energy source that can be used as of now with RIRS is laser only. There are basically three types of flexible scopes available today. One is the most commonly used fiber optic scopes, and then there are two different types of digital scopes. One is the reusable one, the other one is the disposable one. So talking about evolution of RIRS, we know that Dr. Hugh Hampton Young was the first one who did a ureteroscopy in a child with posterior urethral wall, where he passed the cystoscope in the dilated ureter back in 1912. And the first retrograde flexible ureteroscopy was performed by Marshall in 1964, but that scope did not have any working channel and no active deflection. It was later in 1980s that the modern flexible ureteroscope was developed with a working channel and irrigation, but there was nothing to break the stones even if we reached them. And it was only in 1998 that Grasso and Chalik reported the use of holmium laser for breaking the stones and thus doing a therapeutic RIRS. So when we talk about evolution of the scopes, the older generation flexible scopes had an active deflection of 180 degrees only. And the second generation scopes which came in, they added a second active deflection. So they added a supplementary 130 degree down deflection to the already existing 170 or 180 degree initial deflection. But it was found that this is not serving much of a purpose. So then when the third generation models came in, they added exaggerated deflection. So they add now the scopes that are available generally were able to bend up to 270 or 275 degrees in both directions. So just a little bit about the anatomy of flexible scope. Basically, there is the handle and there's the shaft. The handle is where the eyepiece, the light channel, the leak test port, the irrigation channels are. And the shaft has a working shaft and an active deflecting segment. And at the tip, there is a working channel inlet and the lens and the fiber optic illumination. So basically, fiber optic scopes are made up of multiple fiber optic bundles which have internal reflection in themselves. And if we dissect a fiber optic scope, there is the image bundle, there is the light bundle, there is a plastic tubing, which is basically the working channel. And then there are two wires which are used to deflect the scope on either side when we bend the lever. So coming to the commonly used fiber optic scopes, so as I said, I'll be talking about the commonly, easily available and commonly used scopes only. So Olympus P7 is the latest scope from Olympus. The major difference between the earlier Olympus scopes and this one is that they have added four different degrees of stiffness. That is, the proximal part of shaft is extra stiff, then medium, and the distal most part is pretty soft. How this helps is that when we are deflecting the scope inside the kidney, the blind part of the scope which is hitting against the pelvic wall, we can be more sure that it is very soft and it is not going to cause any damage inside. So another major point about this scope is that the tip is very small, that is 4.9 French only. This helps us to go inside the ureter without a guide wire or without an access sheath if you want to do that. And it has a tapering shaft. So when we come proximally, the diameter is 7.95 French. And it has an excellent Moyer filter with excellent image if we compare it with other fiber optic scopes, as you can see in this image. Talking about technical details, it has a 90-degree field of view, forward viewing scope. And as I mentioned, the tip is 4.9 French and the shaft is 7.95 French. A working length of 70 millimeters, and the inner channel diameter or the instrument channel diameter is standard in all scopes, 3.6 French. So I will be not taking this individually in every scope. And bending section, as I mentioned, is 275 degrees in both directions. This is the image quality you get with a P7. You can see that you cannot see much of a honeycombing in P7. That is one of the advantages of Olympus scopes. So moving forward, the second scope which is very widely available is the Karl Storz FlexX 2S. The major difference between FlexX 2 that was available earlier and the FlexX 2S that is available now is that it has double fiber capacity. So it gives us a better image than the earlier FlexX 2 was giving. At the same time, we all know that Karl Storz FlexX 2 scope is a very sturdy scope. So I personally feel that it lasts longer. And also it has a ceramic tip. So how it helps is that if you are firing very close, laser fiber very close to the tip, there are lesser chances that it will cause any damage. And it has a 1:1 torque transmission. Talking about technical details, again, forward viewing scope with the angle of view is 88 degrees, working length 67 centimeters, and the sheath size is 7.5 French. So the diameter of FlexX 2S is uniform throughout the length. There is no difference like in the Olympus scope, the tip is smaller and there is a taper, but Karl Storz FlexX 2S is a uniform diameter scope. So if we talk about image quality of FlexX 2S, I'll just yeah, so that's the kind of image we get with the FlexX 2S. We can see that if we compare it with the earlier available FlexX 2, the honeycombing is much less now. Only thing is we have to little bit defocus to view nicely with this scope. And the handling is very good. So this is a comparison between the commonly used fiber optic scopes, and we have discussed this already. So I'll move forward. So despite these characteristics of fiber optic scope, poor visibility still remained an issue. That is why the companies came out with newer chip-on-tip optical systems. The Karl Storz coming out with the CMOS chip for FlexXC and Olympus with the CCD chip on tip for V2 and V3 now. The added advantage was of a larger endoscopic field with improved resolution, but all these have larger tip by comparison to conventional ones. So the disadvantage in the all digital scopes is that you have to use a wider access sheath. Anatomy is quite similar, except that there is no eyepiece and you don't have to attach a camera. That is the difference between image quality of a fiber optic and a digital scope. And coming to some of the commonly used digital scopes, Olympus V3 is the latest product from Olympus. It has a Durabend insertion tube. This basically offers the same advantage what a P7 offers you over the earlier P6 with the 4 different grades of stiffness. It has another additional thing that V3 has is a 120-degree rotation of shaft. So there's a knob in the shaft somewhere here, which you can use to rotate the scope and then keep it like that. So it can have, offer an additional advantage. The diameter of the scope is 8.4 French uniformly. And this here you can compare the difference between the image of a P7, which is fiber optic, and V3, which is a digital. So again, some technical details. It's quite similar about the forward viewing, and the field of view is 80 degrees. Only major differences in the diameter. These are thicker scopes, 8.4 to 8.5 French. And otherwise deflection is also same, 275 degrees in both directions. I will skip this video for the want of time. You can appreciate the image quality. So the most commonly used digital scope in the market actually is Karl Storz FlexXC, and all of us doing RARs love to use a FlexXC whenever given in hand. It has a 8.5 French tip diameter, and it has a ceramic liner of the working channel. The entire tip is not of ceramic, only the working channel is ceramic. Again, it protects the tip when you're using a laser very close to the tip. It has a CMOS chip, as I mentioned. It has a 1:1 torque transmission. So talking about technical details, angle of view is 90-degree, forward viewing scope, 70 centimeter working length, again 3.6 French in the working channel, and the sheath size of 8.4 French. So you need to use a wider access sheath. You cannot do it with the usual 9.5 French access sheath, thin ones. This is the image quality that a FlexX C gives us. So it gives us excellent vision. So for me, whenever I see the newer scopes that come in market, I always try to compare with the image quality that the FlexXC gives me. And I will show you what how we compare later. So this is a chart comparing the commonly available digital scopes. There's another one from Wolf called Cobra. The major difference being that it has a dual channel compared to the FlexXC and V3. But again, this leads to a much wider diameter of 9.9 French. There is an excellent scope from Wolf called Boa, but somehow it is not very easily available in India as of now. So coming to digital disposable scopes, which are the new talk of the town, and what I felt that everybody would be interested in. So the first digital disposable scope that came in market was Pusen U-Scope. The major advantage being that there are no scope repairs, there is no risk of cross contamination, and it is very lightweight. If we talk about technical details, field of view is 90 degrees with a forward viewing line of vision, and it has a 270-degree up and down deflection in both direction. But the problem is again with the diameter. As you can see, it's a 9.5 French scope. So we have to use a minimum 11 French axis sheet to use this scope. Just to show you the image quality of a Pusen scope. So you can see that it gives a good image quality. Except at times there's a little bit of glare, but otherwise the image quality is pretty good with the Pusen scope. So the major competitor to Pusen scope which came in the market was Boston Scientific LithoVue. This has a relatively smaller tip of 7.7 French, but the shaft is I think 8.5 French. And again, same 270-degree deflection on both sides, and it also comes with a touch screen. One of the problem with these two scopes is that you need to buy that screen separately. So that adds to the cost. Just trying to show you the vision of the LithoVue. So LithoVue also gives us good vision, but one of the problems I feel with LithoVue is these black areas that you see around. So even though the field of vision has improved, if the light is not good enough in the periphery, then it is not really, we're not utilizing the benefit of it totally. But otherwise, the image quality is pretty good. So moving forward, this is another scope which has come into market, which is Indoscope from Indovisive. This is also a good scope with a relatively wider field of view of 110 degrees, and it has a CMOS chip on tape. One of the problems with this scope is again a wider diameter, 9.9 French. But the image quality of this scope is excellent. The handling is also excellent. Only issue as of now is the wider diameter. Another advantage, these scopes, what I'm going to discuss now, the 3 or 4 scopes which are coming from the Indian manufacturers or from some Chinese ones, is that they don't have the typical time limit. The Pusen and Boston LithoVue have a time limit of 4 hours, but these scopes can you can use up to even 21 hours, depending on the make. So this is the image quality of the Indoscope. So you can appreciate that the vision is pretty good. And as I said, when I look at a newer scope, I always try to compare it with the vision of a FlexXC. So this is one scope, but I found that the vision is pretty good with the advantage of a disposable scope. So that makes a digital scope very cheap for us when we use these scopes without the fear that if I damage it will invite very costly repairs. So another scope that is creating a lot of talk is V-Scope. This is also from an Indian manufacturer. The advantage over Indoscope being the thinner diameter of 8.4 French, 275-degree dual deflection. It has a bullet-like tip just like our Olympus P7, so it helps in passing inside the ureter. The advantage, as I mentioned with these scopes, is that no separate monitor is required. You just need a processor that they give with the scope, and you can use your usual monitor for using. So just to show you the vision of V-Scope, I have personally not used this scope, so I had to take a video from the net. It's yeah. So you can appreciate that the vision is pretty good. I'll just fast forward a little bit just to, yeah. The idea is just to show the image quality that we get. So I feel these scopes are quite promising for future. So another scope in the market is UMD DeepraFlex scope. This also has a good vision. It is not as good as the V scope or the endoscope, but still it is pretty decent. And this is being marketed by a laser company, and many people who are buying the Quanta lasers are actually buying this scope. So I'll just show you the image quality that we get. This video is from Dr. Nanjappa. So you can see that the image quality is pretty good, and you can use your usual monitor with the scope or the smaller one that they give. So coming to accessories for RARS, I classify accessories for better access, accessories for extraction, for biopsy, stents, and others. So talking about accessories for better access, we all know about the guide wires. They allow us for better ureteral access to establish, track, and assist in placement, replacement, and exchange of devices during urological procedures. We know that hydrophilic guide wires are now the most commonly used guide wires. They have a hydrophilic coating, retinol core, available at a diameter from 0.05 to 25 to 0.038 inches. They are relatively easy to pass along an impacted calculus and most commonly used for RARS, preferably with both sides should be soft tip. Commonly used hydrophilic guide wires are Termo, high wire, and wire. Then there are the super stiff guide wires like the Zebra guide wire. They allow superior handling in difficult ureters. The diameter is 0.025 to 0.38 inches. One of the problem with Zebra is that the tip is not very easily available in under C-arm, so it's not very radio opaque. So that's why the moment of guide wire tip is not very easily visible. So that shortcoming is overcome by the hybrid guide wires, which have a super stiff core, nitinol tips, and a hydrophilic coating. Commonly used are Roadrunner from Cook and Sensor Wire from Boston. They are more useful when there's an enlarged median lobe or an angle at VUJ not allowing the passage of access sheath. Then we have the commonly used ureteric catheters available as 4 French to 8 French. We know that they're used for doing RGPs or of safe passage of guide wire into the ureter, and sometimes they help us in manipulating the kinks. And then we have the dual lumen ureteric catheter. Some people like to use it routinely during RARS. It helps us to do a RGP and pass a guide wire at the same time. And they are relatively wider, so you can do some dilatation of the VUJ also with these. I'll just, yeah. Then there are dilators like the balloon dilator. Although most of us are not using them routinely now, the length available is 4 to 10 centimeter with the inflation pressure of 40 to 60 psi. And then we have the ureter sequential dilators, which are used to serially dilate the ureter. But if most of us, if we find a tight ureter now, either we go without access sheath or we plan to stage the procedure rather than dilating and trying to do it. So access sheets are the most important accessories for RARS. They facilitate insertion of flexible ureteroscopes and they help us to keep the intrarenal pressures low. They consist of outer sheath and tapered dilating obturator. They are coated with hydrophilic polymers for easy insertion and available as a diameter of 9 to 18 French, depending on the scope that you're going to use and depending on the volume of stone that you're going to deal with or how long you're going to operate, you can choose the sheath that you want to use. And the length available is 20 to 55 centimeters. We should always pass access sheet under C-arm guidance and very gently. We should never force so that we don't cause any trauma. If the access sheet is not going in, either one can go sheathless or one better to stage the procedure. These are the different access sheets available. So coming to accessories for extraction, this is mainly for stones. We know that they are made of nitinol, which is alloy of nickel and titanium. This is one of the most commonly used basket, which is called N-Circle, available from Cook Medical. It has a larger wire size, which gives us increased radial force. It has a tipless design and available as 2.4 French with a diameter of 1 to 2 centimeter. In my practice, I use this basket most commonly for transferring the stones, especially if there's a stone in lower calyx. I try not to break it there. I try to catch it using this basket and transfer it to superior calyx and break it there. This increases the life of the scope. This also increases the clearance rate of the stone. So as you can see in the video, I'm trying to transfer this stone from lower calyx and I've passed it to the superior calyx. And there were actually 4 stones like that. So all of them I fragmented in the superior calyx itself. So next commonly used basket is N-Compass, which is a multi-wire geometry and exceptionally tight weave, available as 1.7 to 2.4 French, and it has opening diameter of 1 to 1.5 French. What I use most commonly for is when there are multiple small fragments and we want to remove them. So as you will see in the video, we have already fragmented the stone. Usually we try to dust as much as possible, and if there are some fragments in the end, we popcorn and we can remove if we need to. So as you can see here, we have passed the basket and we have opened it. So you can appreciate the multi-weave geometry and a mesh-like thing at the end. And then when we close it, we are actually trapping a lot of stones in it. And that's how we bring out multiple stones in the one go. So another commonly used basket is Engage Stone Extractor. I'll just take 5 more minutes. I know I have probably exceeded my time. So Engage is used to engage, reposition, release, or extract the stones, available as 1.7 to 2.2 French with an opening diameter of 8 to 11 millimeters. What I like to use Engage is for taking out those relatively larger fragments. Or when we go into different calyces and we see multiple small stones in different calyces, I like to take them out using Engage. This design helps us to catch them and bring them out. And even if it gets stuck inside the ureter, usually it is easier to release it compared to a N circle for me. So Escape basket is a popular basket from Boston Scientific. Advantage is that it has a dual basket configuration. It's very thin in diameter, only 1.9 French. So this allows us to pass the laser fiber simultaneously. So we can actually hold the stone and break it right there by passing laser fiber by the side of it. This also helps if the basket gets stuck. Graspet forceps is another forceps from Boston Scientific. It allows us for a very secure grasp and a controlled release, mainly used to transfer stones from one calyx to other. But disadvantage of Graspet is the wider diameter. So whenever we use Graspet, actually the flow decreases pretty much inside the PCS. Then for biopsy, we can use a backloading biopsy forceps from Cook, or what we have got, we have asked some Indian manufacturers to make small biopsy forceps for us. So we don't need to backload those forceps and we can use it with the scope inside. We all know about the stents. That's the usual commonly used double J stents. I will not go into details. And we use an endouterotomy stent when we do a endopalotomy. Thank you for patient listening. Sorry for exceeding the time a bit.